The scene begins with Ingrid and her friends heading to their boat for some fun. Nad, one of Ingrid's friends, shows Lars's eye drops that she had stolen previously from Lars's closet. After that, they all use the eye drops and sail to the middle of the sea, where Mad jumps into the water for fun. Just then, a flash appears and Mad vanishes. After some time, Mad along with some other prehistorians emerge from the water. But now, Mad does not appear to recognize her friends. Soon, she begins to drown, and as a result, Ingrid jumps into the water to save her. In the following scene, Lars and Ulfhildr arrive at the crime scene and examine Navin's dead body. Lars informs her that they must investigate the entire area in order to find the clues to the case. Just then, Lars receives a phone call informing him of Ingrid's accident at sea, prompting him to rush there. At the port hospital, he meets Gregers, who informs him that Ingrid has been placed in solitary confinement. He also claims that medical personnel discovered traces of intoxicating temprixate in the girl's blood, which has Lars in disbelief. After a while, Mad's parents arrive and accuse Gregers of providing temprixate to the girls, causing him to walk out, disappointed. When Lars tries to console Gregers, the latter reveals that he lost his son, Valentin, while traveling to the present. On the other hand, Ulfhildr advises her team that they should investigate the entire area in a single day, because it will rain at night. However, one of the team members named Wench doesn't believe that it is possible because they are understaffed, and only 3 of them will not be able to inspect 1 square kilometer in one afternoon. Following this, Ulfhildr calls Lars, who advises her not to let Wench sideline her, and as a result, she decides to enlist the help of Nora and some other prehistorian friends to get her job done. Ulfhildr promises to provide them with free meat in exchange for their help, and everyone agrees. Back at the hospital, Mad approaches Ingrid and expresses her desire to speak with her about the incident. Mad is terrified because she is seeing strange things. She also believes that the doctors are deceiving her because they claim that the discoloration on her teeth is caused by electricity in the water, when it is actually rotten. Mad, out of fear, decides to enter Ingrid's compartment, but Ingrid forbids her because they are quarantined. Soon after, the doctors arrive and take her away. A few hours later, Ingrid is released from the hospital and Lars drives her and Gregers home. On the way, Gregers asks her about the temprixate, but she doesn't reveal anything. Lars knows she took the temprixate eye drops from his closet. When they arrive home, Gregers invites Lars inside and prepares a drink for him. Gregers also persuades him to try the pipe smoke, and the two develop a close friendship. During their conversation, Gregers informs him that Valentin's final resting place has been vandalized by the prehistorians. When Lars hears this, he decides to talk to security about it, which makes Gregers very happy. Gregers claims that, contrary to his expectations, Lars is a good-hearted man. On the other hand, Ulfhildr and her prehistorian friends arrive at the crime scene and begin searching for clues to the murder. After a long search, they find the spot with the most bullet shells and blood. Having their mission complete, they all head to a bar to celebrate, as promised by Ulfhildr. The next morning, everyone at work attempts to contact Ulfhildr, but she does not answer the phone. Worried, Lars goes to Ulfhildr's house and finds her asleep with the rest of her prehistoric friends. As soon as Ulfhildr hears Lars's voice, she wakes up and apologizes for being late. He then tells her to get ready and prepare the murder report because the chief has been looking for it. While getting ready, she discovers a letter in Nora's jacket, mentioning that she has missed her doctor's appointment. This enraged her, but she ignores it for the time being. Later in the police station, Lars receives a message from the forensic expert informing him that Navin was shot by a military drone with the model name Exigo Y. When Harold hears the model name, he realizes that Exigo Y is the same armed drone that was stolen after the past mass murder incident. Following this, Lars contacts one of the officers and requests that he send him a list of names of people who have been trained to operate an Exigo Y drone. In the evening, Ulfhildr confronts Nora in the bar about missing the doctor's appointment. She then convinces Nora and accompanies her to the treatment. Meanwhile, Mad has been released from the hospital, but her teeth are still rotten. Back at the police station, Lars and Ulfhildr are going through the list of names when they come across a soldier named Trine. They are shocked to discover that Trine is the same girl from the trans-temporal community who stole their phones at the AFTT. In the following scene, a worker from the quarantine zone approaches Trine and gives her Mad's quarantine report. The next morning, a man arrives at Lars' house and requests a brief conversation with him. Lars appears uninterested and asks him to leave, but Lars is astonished to discover that the man knows about Ulfhildr. Later at work, Lars learns that an anti-technology group known as the Neo-Luddites has sabotaged the global synchronization of digital networks. After this, Ulfhildr explains about Trine, who had worked for NATO as tactical mission in charge before being fired for unclear reasons. Furthermore, she reveals that Trine was treated for PTSD, so she has contacted her psychologist. Later, as Ulfhildr is driving out of the parking lot, her path is blocked by Wench's car. Ulfhildr honks for Wench to remove the car, but Wench deliberately ignores her. This enrages Ulfhildr, and as a result, she knocks Wench's car, inflicting minor injuries to Wench. On the other hand, Tor arrives at work and is summoned by his boss for a chat. His boss questions him about killing St. Olaf. Tor attempts to refuse, but his boss questions whether he is the same Tor from the prehistoric period, to which he replies that he was. When his boss learns of this, she fires him because she believes that murdering saints is incompatible with Foodie's values. Following that, he returns home, where several people protest, demanding that the murderer be punished. Soon after, he receives a message from an unknown person, who sends a picture of a man, indicating that it's the picture of his opponent. Meanwhile, Lars and Ulfhildr pay a visit to Trine's psychologist, who informs them that Trine had a romantic relationship with a 19th century scientist named Dr. And. However, arriving in the modern era caused him to despise everything modern, indicating that he is a member of the Neo-Luddites. He also provides them with the audio tapes from their group sessions. Later, Lars goes to Gregor's house to pick up Ingrid for the weekend, but Gregors refuses to send her because he has discovered Lars' temprixate addiction. He also states that his earlier assessment stands because he simply misjudged Lars. Lars is enraged and accuses Gregors of being a charlatan who is using his family as a replacement because he cannot cope with the loss of his son. As a result, Gregors shuts the door, prompting Lars to leave. The next day, Lars discovers that a long-term lease on a storage facility was paid for with Trine's credit card. Following this, Lars and Ulfhildr go to the same storage facility, where Trine appears to be hiding. As soon as they enter the basement, they hear Trine fleeing, but they are unable to stop her. They then inspect a storage room and finds Mad's quarantine report. Following that, they pay a visit to Mad to inquire about Trine, but Mad keeps whispering a number. As soon as they leave, Ulfhildr receives a call from Nora, informing her that Tor may die that night as he is fighting a powerful man named Tobias Hansen. As a result, she informs Lars about her urgency, and goes to the fight location along with Nora and Tor's wife. Upon arriving at the fighting arena, Ulfhildr suggests that Tor call off the fight, but Tor refuses because he is in a financial crisis. Ulfhildr promises to help, but he wants to support his family by himself. Soon after, the fight begins, and Tor is brutally beaten for the first few minutes. Soon after, Tor recalls his past, prompting him to rise and overpower Tobias. Meanwhile, Lars returns to the storage facility to continue his investigation. A few moments later, he discovers the jacket of a Beforeigner who was murdered at Tjolfholm. He also finds the same number that Mad had been whispering previously. On the other hand, Trine is seen heading to a bee farm where he meets a guy. It is revealed that the guy had previously desired to be intimate with her, and as a result, she left the place. But now, she doesn't have anywhere to go, so she requests the guy to let her stay there. The man agrees because he does not want to shun his little warrior. The following day at work, Ulfhildr is being investigated by the chief and Harold after they discover a temprixate in the car she drove. Ulfhildr claims that she knows nothing about it, but the higher authorities decide to test her. When Lars learns of this, he goes to Harold and confesses that the temprixate belongs to him. Following this, he is approached by Ulfhildr, who informs him that she has given her blood samples to cover Lars because he is her only friend at work. She also advises him to put the blame on her because they will go easy on Beforeigner. However, he reveals that he has already confessed it and has resigned. Elsewhere, Nora visits a witch and asks if she can cure her cancer, to which the witch replies in negative. The witch also claims that life is a maze and that one must find their own way out. She then licks Nora's blood and instructs her to follow a dog in order to find her way out. On the other hand, Lars returns back home and notices the same guy who approached him earlier for a brief conversation. The man is revealed to be the first victim to emerge from the water near the opera house. Soon after, he assists Lars with the numbers he discovered at the storage facility. The numbers are actually the GPS coordinates of a location called Timehole. The guy claims that Trine, Mad, Tjolfholm, and everything is connected with the Timehole. Lars inquires as to how he knows so much about the case, to which the man responds that he works for the man who sacrificed his eye to drink from Mimir's well. Meanwhile, Ulfhildr gets intimate with Jep. At midnight, Jep awakens and notices a strange sign on Ulfhildr's back. He then takes her single hair, places it in a plastic pouch, and walks away quietly. The next scene shows a group of prehistorians watching a video of Norway in the 21st century. They believe that Christianity is violated in the video, so one of the prehistorians claims that a true Christian does not bow his head for sinners. He then requests a mobile phone and dials Mad's number. Mad does not answer the phone, so he leaves a message saying that he remembers everything. One morning, Lars awakens to find the same man smoking with a halibut in front of him. The man claims that they were in a time hole the day before, but Lars has no recollection of this. The man shows him a picture of a Tjuvholm woman whose name was Mariana Werner, but Lars appears to be confused. Later, in the police station, Alfhildur explains to the team about Mariana, who was a member of the Aachen Neo-Luddites. She also claims to have a list of medical centers, and that if they find the one who cured Mariana, they will be able to find a match. Following this, Alfhildur goes to a parking lot, where she meets Lars. He claims that since his resignation, he has been working with a man. She inquires about the man, to which he responds that he is a beard-wearing man in his 40s who arrived with the first victim group. She then returns to the police station to go over the arrival file. Soon after, she learns that the man's name is Calv, but to her surprise, Calv has died 2 years ago. The same evening, Lars returns to the man he rescued and requests temprixate from him. However, the man informs him that he has already stopped making it. He also advises Lars to stop using the drops because they are dangerous, but Lars ignores him and walks away. After this, Lars meets with an elderly man and inquires about the drops, to which the elderly man replies that the drop crew has moved on. He then goes in search of the drops, and after some time, he finds some of it. He immediately uses it and returns home. Upon reaching home, he finds Alfhildur, Ingrid, and the friend he saved waiting for him to speak. Alfhildur learns of Calv's death and asks Lars if he has been hallucinating, to which Lars responds that he has not. Ingrid shows him a video in which he converses with an invisible person. Ingrid then takes his drops and tells him to stay away from it. The next day, Alfhildur and Nora go to the doctor, who claims that the radiation treatment will prolong Nora's life by several years. However, Nora decides to skip the radiation treatment and die quickly because she believes she has no reason to live. Meanwhile, Lars pays a visit to Marie and asks her to pass on his apology to Gregers for the earlier argument. Before leaving, they come across Ingrid, who informs them that the 2 police officers paid a visit to her school, which caused Mad to panic. Lars then pays a visit to Alfhildur's house and reminds her of their first meeting with Jepp and David. He claims that they were not on duty that day. He also suspects them because they went to Ingrid's school and spoke with Mad. They then notice a bite mark on Jepp's crotch and suspect him of being involved in Mariana's case. Soon after, they go to a forensic expert and ask him to find the murderer's blood in Mariana's teeth. The forensic expert says that they will the murderer's DNA. Hearing this, Alfhildur wonders how long a man's seed can live inside a woman if the harvest has already been taken care of. Later, Alfhildur and Lars visit the police station, where Harold notices Lars and inquires with Alfhildur about what he is doing there. She says that Lars can assist them with the case during his notice period. Lars and Alfhildur explain everything about Jepp and David to Harold, and as a result, both of them are arrested right away. Following this, Jepp and David confess that they assisted in prostitution and murdered Mariana to prevent her from informing authorities. Finally, Harold believes that the case has been solved and thanks Lars for his assistance, but Lars claims that the case has not yet been solved. According to Lars, Jepp and David represent powerful interests, because Mariana was a political activist who worked with Trine to expose them. Furthermore, he believes that someone in the government is withholding information on purpose. However, Harold does not believe anything he says. The next day, Tor throws a Migration Day party at which he shares that he accepted the offer because he does not want her daughter to grow up with a father who has no history. Everyone is enjoying the party when Nora notices a fat man with a gun approaching Tor. The fat man is about to shoot Tor when Nora comes in between, causing the bullets to strike her. Soon after, Tor apprehends the fat man, while Alfhildur rushes towards her sister. Alfhildur pleads with Nora to stay strong, but Nora passes away, leaving Alfhildur heartbroken. The same time, the prehistorian attends the funeral after completing all of the rituals. In the following scene, a woman in the cart approaches Lars for assistance, but when he goes for help, he is knocked out from behind. When he regains consciousness, he finds himself in a farm and soon, Trine approaches him. Trine then reveals that Navin foretold Mariana's arrival in the time hole to Jepp and David. Lars is shocked to learn that Jepp and David murdered Navin and are using the drone to frame Trine. Before departing, Trine hands him a hard disk containing all of the information she has gathered about their activities. On the other hand, Tor and Alfhildur are having a conversation in a bar. Tor recalls the time he and his father found her in the sea. His father then christened her as Nauman's daughter and gave her the name Alfhildur. At home, Lars is going through the contents of the hard disk when Calv approaches him again. He appears perplexed if it's reality, or just his hallucination, so he walks out to a bar where he meets Ulfhilder. Lars, despite having no idea how to dance, tries to console her by inviting her to dance. In the following scene, we see Mad walking towards an abandoned location and digging a hole. Upon doing so, she discovers a historic sword and a locket. A few moments later, she is approached by the same prehistorian who protested the violation of Christianity. She then hands him the sword and assists him in wearing the locket. The prehistorian is revealed to be none other than Olav the Stout. The episode ends as they both go in to save the heathen mongrels. Subscribe to see more videos like this, turn on the notifications, and hit a like to help the channel grow. Don't miss part 3 for more. Thanks for watching.